This is HB Vibes, your home for shocking and emotional war stories. Hit like, smash that subscribe, and let's dive into the drama. When a billionaire's baby cried uncontrollably in the middle of a luxurious restaurant, no one knew what to do. But then, a black girl, the waitress's daughter, stepped forward and did the unthinkable, changing the night forever. The chandelier sparkled softly above the grand dining hall of one of the city's most luxurious restaurants. The place was buzzing with quiet chatter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft hum of a live piano performance. Patrons enjoyed their meals with calm sophistication, until the piercing cry of a baby shattered the serenity. At one corner table sat Alexander Grant, a billionaire entrepreneur known across the city for his cold, commanding presence. He was a man who could silence boardrooms with a single glance, but at this moment he looked helpless. In his arms was his infant daughter, Amelia, wailing uncontrollably. Alexander's face was tight with embarrassment. It wasn't the first time Amelia had cried like this in public, but here, surrounded by judgmental eyes, he felt especially uneasy. He bounced her gently, whispered, and tried soothing her, but nothing worked. Nearby, waitresses moved quickly between tables. Among them was Lydia, a hard-working single mother. She noticed the growing discomfort at Alexander's table but kept her distance. After all, who dared approach a man of his stature? Still, she couldn't ignore the restless glances around the room. By Lydia's side stood her 12-year-old daughter, Naomi. On weekends, Naomi often accompanied her mom to the restaurant, quietly sitting at a corner booth with homework or a sketchpad. Tonight, however, Naomi's curious eyes kept drifting toward the crying baby. Amelia's cries grew louder, and the restaurant's refined atmosphere began to unravel. A couple at a nearby table muttered disapproval. The pianist faltered for a moment before resuming. Alexander rubbed his temple in frustration, whispering to his daughter, "Please, sweetheart, not now." Naomi, watching from her booth, felt her chest tighten. She remembered the nights when she, too, used to cry inconsolably after her father left her and Lydia behind. Her mother would hold her close until she finally drifted to sleep. Something inside her told her she couldn't just sit there. Before Lydia could stop her, Naomi slid off her seat and walked toward the billionaire's table. The room seemed to hold its breath. A child approaching Alexander Grant. Unthinkable. Naomi looked up at him, her voice gentle yet steady. "Excuse me, sir, may I try to help?" Alexander blinked in surprise. His sharp, calculating eyes softened as he looked at the small girl with her braided hair and kind expression. I don't think it will help," he muttered. "She won't stop crying." But Naomi only smiled and extended her arms toward Amelia. Babies sometimes need a different touch. For a moment, Alexander hesitated. He wasn't the kind of man to hand over his daughter to strangers, much less a child. But something about Naomi's confidence, the warmth in her eyes, and the quiet determination in her voice made him pause. Almost against his own instincts, he handed Amelia to Naomi. The baby squirmed, her cries sharp and desperate. Naomi, however, didn't flinch. She rocked the infant gently, humming a lullaby her mother used to sing to her. The restaurant, once filled with irritation, now watched in silence. One by one, the sounds of Amelia's cries began to fade. Her tiny fists unclenched, her breathing slowed, and within minutes, she was asleep against Naomi's shoulder. The transformation was almost magical. Alexander's jaw dropped. Lydia, standing frozen nearby, felt her heart swell with both pride and fear. The entire restaurant exhaled in relief. A quiet round of applause broke out from one corner, then another, until nearly everyone clapped softly at the sight of a young girl accomplishing what a billionaire could not. Alexander whispered, "How did you?" Naomi simply smiled. "Sometimes babies just need to feel safe. That's all." Later, after the moment had settled and Amelia slept peacefully in a stroller, Alexander motioned for Lydia and Naomi to join him at his table. "Young lady," Alexander said, his tone gentler than anyone in the restaurant had ever heard, "you did something tonight that money cannot buy. You gave my daughter peace." Naomi blushed, her eyes flicking toward her mother. "I just wanted to help." Lydia stepped forward quickly, her hands folded nervously. "I'm so sorry, sir." Naomi didn't mean to intrude. She just has a big heart. But Alexander shook his head. "No apologies needed. Tonight, your daughter taught me something. I spend millions trying to solve problems, yet sometimes the solution is as simple as kindness." As they spoke, Alexander asked about their lives. Lydia hesitated, but Naomi, innocent and honest, explained how her mom worked long hours, How she sometimes missed her dad, and how she learned to comfort others because she knew what sadness felt like. Alexander listened intently, a strange ache stirring in his chest. It had been years since he'd heard such simple truth spoken without agenda or expectation. That night, after returning home, Alexander sat by Amelia's crib, still shaken by the evening's events. He replayed Naomi's words, "Sometimes babies just need to feel safe." For all his wealth, Alexander realized he often substituted presents with gifts. He showered Amelia with toys, clothes, and gadgets, but perhaps what she truly needed was something deeper: connection, warmth, security. His thoughts drifted back to Naomi, a little girl with so little compared to his riches, yet with a heart so full she could calm storms. Alexander couldn't remember the last time someone reminded him of what truly mattered. That night, he resolved to see Lydia and Naomi again. The following weekend, Alexander returned to the restaurant, not as a customer seeking fine dining, but as a man searching for something he couldn't name. He found Lydia busy at work and Naomi sitting at her usual booth. When they noticed him, Naomi's face lit up. Amelia, resting in his arms, cooed happily at the sight of her new friend. Alexander approached Lydia, his voice steady but kind. "I owe both of you more than I can express. Naomi gave my daughter something priceless. I'd like to offer her a scholarship, full education, every opportunity she dreams of." Lydia's eyes widened in disbelief. "Sir, that's too much. We couldn't possibly accept." But Alexander raised a hand gently. "This isn't charity, it's an investment in someone who already proves she has the power to change lives. My daughter is proof of that." Naomi, overwhelmed, hugged Amelia tightly. For the first time, Lydia allowed herself to imagine a future for her daughter beyond struggle and sacrifice. Weeks turned into months, and the bond between the three families grew. Naomi would visit Amelia often, becoming like an older sister. Lydia found herself with a friend in Alexander, a man who once seemed untouchable, now softened by gratitude and humility. The city, always buzzing with news of wealth and power, whispered about the billionaire who found unexpected wisdom in a waitress's daughter. But for Alexander, none of that mattered. What mattered was the lesson etched into his heart, that love, kindness, and connection outweighed even the greatest fortune. And so, a crying baby in a restaurant had sparked something extraordinary, a story of humility, hope, and the unthinkable courage of a little girl whose heart was richer than any billionaire's bank account. If you felt the heartbeat of this story, give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to HB Vibes, where every story carries a lesson for the soul.